Welcome to another Clifton Cameras video. We are here in Leica Mayfair with Robin Sinha, phenomenal portrait and people photographer, all around good guy. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the M10 and the new M10-P, what those differences are and what they mean for him and his photography. Hello, welcome back to another Clifton Cameras video. We're down in Leica Mayfair today with the, I was going to call you fabulous, but that's a little...
I'll take fabulous.
We'll do fabulous. Okay.
Robin.
The fabulous Robin Sinha. He's a local portrait photographer. What would you say you do in London?
Well, it's all people-led photography that I do.
People.
So, I enjoy street photography. I do a lot of portraiture.
Yeah.
Kind of documentary projects is what I enjoy.
Okay. So that's what Robin does. Robin shoots predominantly with Leica or just
Not totally with Leica, I have to say.
Yeah.
A lot with this system, the M system that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And a lot also with the SL system.
Cool.
So I guess it's the kind of camera that in a way competes with the Nikons and the Canons.
Yeah, and I think that's something we're interested in getting into. So if you want to verify Robin for yourself, we'll give you his Instagram account. He's a highly accomplished portrait photographer, human photographer. But yeah, he's going to tell us today what he likes about the Leica, the Leica M system. So can you tell us a little bit then about the difference between the M10 and we haven't really addressed this yet, but he's actually got the M10P in his hands. You haven't actually seen this camera yet, have you? Or at least shot with it?
No, I haven't shot with it yet. But yeah, I've had a bit of a play with it. I'm familiar with the differences now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can run you through the main differences.
Yeah, so highlight the differences for us.
The key thing is all to do with the shutter. So this is the most silent M camera, including film cameras, that Leica have ever produced.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly silent, which is a key thing for rangefinder photography. It's particularly popular in the realms of street photography, where you often have to get up close and personal with the people you're photographing, and having a silent camera is obviously a huge advantage. Mm-hmm. Particularly if you get into, sometimes tricky, precarious situations where there may be an element of danger if it suddenly spots you getting closer. So It's a key thing.
Yeah.
What else? The shutter, the touch functionality. So this is the first M camera with touch functionality, and what you can do with that is you can pan through your images, you can zoom in, zoom out. It just kind of enhances the experience. You still have those kind of haptic controls of using the wheel to zoom in up and down. For example, if you were using gloves, or if you had, sweaty hands, sometimes touch is not so good in those situations.
Yeah.
So you can flip between the two seamlessly.
Yeah.
And the third thing is the implementation of a spirit level. So if you flick into live view, or if you're using an electronic viewfinder, and you're doing things which require very careful composition, architectural photography,
sure.
Landscape photography, it's an advantage to have that.
Do you think it's going to you sound pretty excited about the fact that the shutter's so silent. Is that going to make a big difference to your photography? Is that a good reason for you to just...
Certainly. The shutters are not loud.
Yeah.
But now that I've heard how this one works and operates, they seem quite loud.
Yeah.
It's, as I say, anything that's going to make you more discreet is always an advantage. And like to keep, refining the cameras each generation that comes out. And I think that's a key thing. For me, it's worth it for the shutter alone. The touch and the horizon, added bonus.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, Leica, they've been using the same M bayonet mount for, I think, since the 1950s.
1954 was the first M camera.
So you've got 70 years worth of cross-compatibility with lenses over the decades.
Almost all those lenses from 1954, almost all of them are compatible with the modern day digital bodies.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe 4 exceptions because of the lens design, but yes.
Yeah.
Huge range.
Do you have quite a collection of lenses that you use?
3 lenses myself, 35, 50 and a 21 mil.
Okay. Those are your favorites.
I mean, my go-to lens would be the 35mm.
Yeah.
That's what I love shooting with.
Yeah. Why don't you shoot, or have you ever tried shooting with any of the other full frame sort of alternatives to the M10?
Yeah, I mean, are we talking other manufacturers?
Yeah, so let's just say...
I used to have a full Canon system. I probably went through all the 5Ds, had a quite nice lens set of the Canon L lenses. But it's not the kind of equipment, personally, that I would ever shoot street with. I never used that as a street camera. It was more for, portraiture and events, perhaps, that I would occasionally shoot. I mean, it's a good question. A lot of people always think, well, this is a manual focus system. All the lenses are manual focus. How can you get quick, candid shots, without that advantage of a quick autofocus, which all these SLRs have, lightning quick autofocus these days. But as I said, the key is that you're not focusing. You're eliminating that from the equation. In that respect, you're actually quicker than autofocus.
Yeah.
You hit the shutter release, you get your shot. Another advantage is, obviously with an SLR, they have a mirror. When you press down on the shutter release, you actually lose sight of what you're photographing for that split second. So you don't actually see the most important moment unfold. Sounds like a small thing because it can be a split second, 500th of a second.
Yeah.
But you don't see the most important moment. If you're lucky to be right eye dominant, you have another advantage that you're using this eye. You can also learn to shoot with your left eye open.
Yeah.
So I'm viewing more of the world and I'm more aware of what's going on in the environment.
Yeah.
And if you're doing things like a street portrait, when you've randomly approached somebody in the street, it's a bit uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
This is much more intimidating than this.
Yeah.
When you can actually keep a conversation flowing.
Yeah.
The dynamic is just naturally more. It's better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because on the way down here, I was thinking how a lot of it is it's quite an expensive system to get into. It's an expensive camera to shoot, and new cameras, new DSLRs have so many different mod cons. I was racking my brain trying to figure out why would you choose a Leica over something else that has so many
the thing is
more richer feature set. But I guess it really depends on what kind of photography you're shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things is if you look at the tech spec of this camera versus a high spec camera, it's going to lose on many levels. But then you have to break it down to what is actually useful to you as a photographer or as a tool. If you're going to use this, to do your work, to do your job. Ultimately, it boils down to 3 elements of exposure. I mean, 4th if you introduce flash.
Yeah.
So you just want to have a tool that is going to operate, it's going to work, it's functional, and it just so happens to have extremely high quality in terms of the optics that Leica have compatible with this system. And it's all very small. It's all, it has that classic retro appearance. And I mean, something I didn't touch on, but the appearance of the camera, actually, in particularly this one, this is another difference which I forgot to mention. The P version doesn't have the red logo on the front.
Yeah.
It has the inscribing on the top. So it's the most discreet M10 now available. And that's a key thing because people kind of accept it. They look at it and think, it's an old film camera, or it's not a serious camera, and their guard is not as high. But, you approach with an SLR, people think professional, paparazzi, what is this guy doing? Get away from me. This has a very different reaction if you get close.
Yeah. I can see now why this camera excels at certain kind of photography over. You wouldn't want to walk around with a massive DSLR, really, would you? Trying to take candid shots of people on the street, because people are going to clock that straight away. Yeah. People always say that Leica has a certain look, a certain feel to it, a certain aesthetic that you can't get with other cameras. Is that true? Is there something special about a Leica?
I'm not very geeky in terms of I don't study the differences between certain lenses, but I can compare. I can give you, my take on what I thought the L lenses were giving me from Canon and the high performing Leica lenses. They do seem to have characteristics, particularly when you're shooting with the wider apertures. So I mean, Leica, speak to one of the head designers, or the head designer on the M lenses. I think it's a gentleman called Stefan Scott, and he's all about telling people to shoot with the widest aperture. because he's so proud of what they've achieved in terms of how highly they perform.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest performance area of a lens, the wide aperture.
Yeah.
You know, you read other manufacturers' technical data, and they'll tell you to stop down the lens because as you stop down, you get better contrast,
Right.
perhaps. So yeah, I mean, the look of how it looks when you're using those 1.4s, it does have people always talk about the bokeh.
Yeah.
A Japanese word kind of referring to that out of focus area. It's special. It is unique, and how the lenses operate when you shoot into light and you get that flare. It handles the light incredibly well. Keeps high contrast levels and has a real nice kind of creamy smoothness in those out of focus areas.
I just remembered are you coming up to see us and teach an academy event with us?
I am, yeah. So I don't remember the date off the top of my head.
Nor do I. but Robin is coming to visit us up in Gloucestershire around, Cheltenham, Dursley.
So yeah, I think the idea is we're going to have a couple of sessions on that day, 2-hour sessions.
Yep.
We're going to get a model in for the day, and we're going to talk about, we're going to do a bit of lighting and talk about, a few portrait tips.
Yeah.
To hopefully bring you up a level.
Yeah. Do you need to have a Leica to come?
No, you don't need to have a Leica to come, but cool. We'll have plenty of kit there for you to have a try with.
All right. Okay. Very nice. Hey, well, Robin, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So here it is. The reason that we came down to Leica is the Leica M10-P is the upgrade from the Leica M10. The major difference between this camera and the last camera is the shutter. The shutter is new, upgraded, and it is dead quiet, which is ideal for getting closer to your subjects and not alerting them that you are there, which is great for street photography. And that's something that Robin really excels at. Other reasons to appreciate this camera is it now comes with a spirit level. So when composition is of the utmost importance, that's something that's going to make a big difference, especially if you're shooting things like architecture, something really geometric. Other very minute differences, I don't know, but the red dot you'll see is missing from the front of the camera, and there is an inscription that's been added to the top, so that makes this an even more discreet camera. So you've got a blank camera body and a silent shutter. You can almost operate in stealth if you're good enough. It has been a treat to come down and spend some time with Robin. He's a great guy. We really enjoyed our time down here. We just wish it was a little drier, and it's just not letting up anytime soon. Thank you for joining us down here at Leica Mayfair today. We had a very good day with Robin. Thanks to Leica for having us. We really enjoyed shooting with the M10-P. Keep an eye out for it. We'll put a link in the description where you can purchase the camera if you're looking for a brand new Leica. And thank you for joining us. We're gonna head back to Cheltenham in the rain.